One of the common questions that comes at Easter time is the question about Good Friday. And people are always asking, why is it called Good Friday? And of course, that's a great question because there, on the surface, looks nothing good about Good Friday. It's the day, the Friday before Easter, that Christians mark to remember the crucifixion of Christ. And crucifixion was nothing new. Jesus certainly wasn't the only person crucified. I remember learning that when I was young, because growing up, you'd hear about Jesus being crucified, but I had to learn when I got a little older, out of my childhood years, that thousands of people were crucified. History tells us that at one time the Romans crucified 6,000 people in a day. One time near where Jesus grew up, 2,000 people were crucified, and probably right after Jesus was born. So this would have been in his consciousness growing up. He would have known all about this, and people were crucified because it was a warning sign for what not to do to the Roman Empire, not to ever resist the Roman Empire. And people were often crucified near a road, hung near a road so that people would pass by and see their bodies, see them suffering. Can you imagine just walking down a road and you just see people just gasping for breath and not being allowed to help them, watching them fight for their breath. And so this was a humiliating exercise. It was meant to terrorize. It was meant to intimidate. It was meant to torture with incredible physical pain. And people were nailed, the nails were put into their hands and their feet, and they just hung there. And so oftentimes, even before they were hung, they were flogged, and they used these whips that had multiple tails on them. And these whips had pieces of bone and metal in them embedded in the whips. And so when the whip would hit the back, it would tear open the flesh. And they wanted to get people suffering and bleeding. And then they were nailed. Imagine this, nailed to a cross, and then they hung there. And they actually would die sometimes of from thirst, but often they were asphyxiated. They couldn't exhale. They would have to push up with their feet and try to get the breath out. So when Jesus was crucified, after he was beaten, whipped, it was incredibly painful. Crucifixion is where we get our word excruciating. It was excruciatingly painful. And not only that, but Jesus, when he was crucified, was mocked, made fun of. As you know, they made a crown of thorns and put it on his head to mock him for trying to be a king, saying he was a king, or people were claiming he was a king, and they spit on him. And not only that, but if you think about it, he was betrayed by his inner circle, Judas. He was given a mock trial in the middle of the night. He was arrested at night, given a trial during the night, so no one would come to his defense. And it was the most humiliating thing. And so why would you ever call that good? What could be good about that? And there are a lot of different reasons people speculate, but I'll throw this out, that I think we captured the idea that it was good. And people still, to this day, they wear crosses. And we see crosses all over, on jewelry, on t-shirts, on churches. It's somehow a symbol of hope. Somehow a symbol that when the worst and the worst of the worst is thrown at you, God comes through. After the crucifixion is, of course, resurrection. And to me, it displays the idea of love, that love conquers evil. And there's a scripture that says, Don't be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. It's as if Good Friday was the climax of evil. Every evil thing, from Jesus being betrayed and forgotten, and through a corrupt political process, he was condemned to die just because of people's personal and petty politics. It encompassed everything that you could think of as evil in one climactic day, and then Jesus is crucified, he dies. I think it's saying it's exhausted every kind of evil. Jesus said essentially, took the sins of the world upon himself. That's what Good Friday is. And he exhausted evil, and he overcame evil with good, with love. Love is more powerful than death. That's something to remember for Good Friday. God is love, and he demonstrated ultimate love at the cross. I hope that helps. God bless you. Happy Easter.